You are watching Beyond the News. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, people, this is Vybz Kartel, as you know. And since recently, I've been seeing a lot of things in the media as it relates to Vybz Kartel performing in Trinidad.
Me not have much, but my learn to do without. Enough time my stomach a grumble, man, not for hold it out. My push through the storm, now tougher than steel. The struggle build me up, so the real don't feel, yeah, yeah. Me no need for your plenty. All the pressure throw me in a something heavy. Watch me rise, watch me grow, watch me glow. From the gutter to the top, man, I never move slow.
There is no problem with Vybz Kartel performing in Trinidad. You know what I mean? The permits, the necessary permits are granted. The problem lies in where the promoter took it upon himself and tried to fill Vybz Kartel itinerary with things that had nothing to do with Vybz Kartel performance. And rightfully so, the defense minister pulled the plug on that part of the itinerary. And there's no problem there because Vybz Kartel represent for Trinidad, they represent for Jamaica. As a matter of fact, we represent for the entire Caribbean. And my job is to come perform for the people of Trinidad. And I miss performing because I haven't seen you guys in over 15 years. So, big up to the outgoing government. Congratulations to the new government. Jacob, I've known you for years. Do better, sir. But guess what now? See you the 31st. We're alive, could be worse. One Trinidad.
All right, let's get straight into it. There's this upcoming performance. Vybz Kartel, the big Jamaican dancehall artist, he's set for Trinidad and Tobago, May 31st, One Caribbean Music Festival.
Yeah, but it's not just business as usual, is it? His visit is really stirring things up. There's a lot of debate because of these restrictions they're putting on him.
Exactly. Restrictions. It's quite something. You've got this huge artist, massive in dancehall, but then this collision with, well, legal history and government action.
Right. And Vybz Kartel, for anyone maybe not super familiar, he's more than just a musician, huge cultural figure. But he also had that murder conviction, which was recently overturned.
And that's the absolute crux of it, it seems. That's where Trinidad and Tobago's Defense Minister Wayne Sturge has stepped in.
It really looks like the government is trying to walk a tightrope here. Potential benefits of a big concert versus concerns about safety, messages, that kind of thing.
So the source we're diving into today is an article from Beyond the News Trinidad. It's called Trinidad Restricts Vybz Kartel's Visit.
And it really digs into the government side of things, their reasoning, the legal basis they think they have.
Yeah, so our mission for this deep dive is to unpack why the Trinidadian government decided on these limits. What arguments are they actually making?
And what does it all mean for Kartel, for Trinidad, for the festival?
And for you listening, it's a really good case study, isn't it? This tension between artistic freedom, national interest, protecting people, particularly kids.
So where do we start? The government's position, right? Minister Sturge.
Yeah, the defense minister, he held a post-cabinet news conference. The article lays out what he said.
And it's important, like you said, that this is technically a draft order. Consultations are apparently still happening. SIU, other stakeholders.
But the core reason Sturge gives, it's pretty blunt. He says they want to avoid giving, and I'm quoting here, legitimacy to someone who only recently released from death row for murder and whose conviction was not overturned on merit.
Wow. Yeah, that's a strong statement. No ambiguity there.
None. And the article details the actual restrictions in this immigration order. It's quite a list.
Things like what, media appearances?
Yep. No morning radio, no midday TV, no local press drop-ins, also no meet and greet events.
And no visiting schools or youth centers, right?
Correct. Or even a cultural lunch with community leaders. Even an official public welcome plan for May 28th, that's off too.
So basically, perform the concert, but keep all other public engagement to an absolute minimum.
Pretty much. And they keep circling back to why his conviction was overturned in 2024.
The technicality point.
Exactly. The article stresses, and Sturge stresses, it was a legal technicality, not because the evidence itself was unreliable. They see that as a huge distinction.
And that's fundamental to their argument. They're not questioning the Privy Council's decision legally, but they are questioning the implications of it, perhaps, especially for public perception.
Right. And interestingly, the article mentions they don't expect backlash from CARICOM neighbors.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Sturge apparently pointed out that other Caribbean nations have similar laws and have used them before, even against Trinidadian artists sometimes.
Ah, okay. So they're framing it as standard practice, exercising national sovereignty.
Seems like it. And the justification goes beyond just the conviction. They talk a lot about the best interest of the country.
And specifically children, you mentioned.
Yes, very specifically the interest of children. They even cite the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, which is part of Trinidadian law.
So linking it to international obligations as well.
And the article connects that to concerns about the material contained in some of Cartel's songs. So it's the lyrics, the content, potentially influencing young people negatively. Child protection is the priority, they say.
But doesn't Cartel say he's reformed? I thought the article touched on that.
It does, briefly. It mentions Cartel claims he wants to influence youth against crime now, but then it gives Sturge's reaction.
Which was skeptical.
Measured, but yeah, skeptical is fair. He says something like, I don't expect him to say he is not reformed, he has his own agenda. But he adds, I also don't wish to say I don't believe him, but we have to act on the basis of evidence.
Basis of evidence. Okay, so pointing back to the past record.
And Sturge even brings up Cartel's previous attempts to get freed based on ill health claims.
Oh, right, and then the quick recovery afterward.
That's what Sturge implies, yeah. A miraculous recovery. It adds to their caution, it seems.
So past actions, the nature of the conviction being overturned, it all feeds into their stance.
And Sturge really hammers the point. Conviction overturned because of juror misconduct, not because the evidence was weak.
Right, he wants to make it clear that, in their view, the credibility and the reliability of the evidence led against him at trial wasn't undermined by the appeal outcome.
And even the fact that the Jamaican Court of Appeal didn't order a retrial. Sturge frames that as being about public policy considerations in Jamaica, not about the strength of the original evidence.
Okay, so that's a pretty detailed picture of the government's rationale. Concerns about legitimacy, child protection, skepticism about reform, and the specifics of the overturned conviction.
And they seem to have solid backing internally, right? The article mentions others.
Yeah, it's Attorney General John Jeremy. He apparently confirmed Sturge has the legal right to do this and that he's comfortable with it.
So, legal cover sorted from their perspective.
And political cover, too. Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisesar also supported Sturge, called it a policy decision within the law.
She used the word offensive, didn't she? Suggesting allowing full engagement would be offensive and not strike the right balance.
Right, so a united front from the top levels of government there.
Now, we should be clear, as we always try to be in these deep dives.
We're reporting what's in the article.
Exactly. The article focuses heavily on the government's perspective, their reasons. It mentions Cartel's reform claims, but mainly through Sturge's skeptical lens.
So we're not taking a side on whether the restrictions are justified or not, just unpacking the arguments presented in the source.
Precisely. So, if we were to sum up the key takeaways from this Beyond the News piece.
Okay, so Trinidad and Tobago's government, led by the defense minister with clear political and legal backing, has put these specific restrictions on Vybz Kartel's visit.
And the reasons are layered. There's the big one. His recent release from that murder conviction overturned on a technicality, not merit. They don't want to seem to legitimize that.
Then there's the concern about his music's influence, especially on kids, citing child protection duties and international conventions.
And finally, a general caution or skepticism about his claims of reform, looking at his past actions and the specific reason the conviction fell.
Yeah, that covers the main points from the government side as reported.
And, this whole thing really highlights that constant tension, doesn't it? Between allowing artists freedom, the way legal systems work, what an overturned conviction actually means, and a government's duty to protect.
Absolutely. It raises questions for you, the listener, to think about. How do societies handle rehabilitation claims versus public safety fears, especially with high profile figures?
And what's the right line for a government to walk? When should they step in to regulate artists with controversial pasts, even if the legal slate is technically cleaner now?
Yeah, and maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. Given that the conviction was overturned on a technicality juror misconduct, how should we weigh that specific legal outcome against someone's current situation and their stated intention to change?
Is focusing on preventing potential harm based on past associations and lyrical content a fair move? Or does it risk setting a precedent where artists face restrictions based on past controversies, even if the legal process didn't uphold the original finding on its merits?
Definitely something complex to mull over. Lots of different angles to consider there.
What the girl them used to love, farmer man, educated man. No badness them run down, we are changing order. Let go the badness thing here me now. The girl them fill up farmer man, educated man, never gun man. Them used to want the real hard worker. Money in a hand, yeah, the plan proper. Now a bad man, them a run down, but me tell them to stop running.